Namaste everyone and welcome to another edition of the Ramanand Sagar Ramayan review from the Hindu Pod. My name is Pradeep and I'm the dad.
My name is Vishala and I am the daughter.
Hello Vishala, how are we doing today?
I'm good. How about you?
I am doing excellent and I am very happy to be presenting this episode because we know what happens in this one, right?
Yeah.
Were you happy to go and finally get to watch this episode?
Yeah, I finally got to see Ram pick the bow.
Was it all that you hoped it would be?
Yeah.
Awesome. So why don't you tell us the name of this episode?
It was season 1, episode 8, Sita, swayamvar, and Parasuram.
Right, and IMDb gives this a rating of 9.2 stars. Do you think it deserves 9.2 stars? I know we're going to be giving it our own rating at the end, but do you think IMDb rating is accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. I think so too. I think it's pretty good. The IMDb description is that the Shiv Dhanus bow was broken by Prince Rama when he attempted to string the bow during the swayamvar of Sita, thereby winning the princess's hand in marriage. It had an original air date of March the 22nd, 1987. And Vishala, where can people see this episode of the Ramayana?
YouTube.
Yep, and we're going to leave a link in our show notes. What were your overall thoughts about this episode?
It was very interesting, especially with Parashuram. This was an interesting episode.
Parasuram is a very, very interesting character. I liked the episode, I really did, but there was a lot about Parasuram that was really left out. And really, when we compare the Tulsidas Shri Ramcharitmanas and the Valmiki Ramayana, the Adhyatma Ramayana and everything, the telling of the story of Parashuram varies quite a bit. So it's kind of hard to pin down exactly how it played out, how it happened. But as we go along the podcast, I will make an attempt to kind of incorporate all versions of the story of Parasuram. So are you ready to get started today?
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you're ready, we can begin and I will jump in when I can.
The episode starts with the announcer, I'm guessing he's the announcer, saying the conditions of the ceremony. And it's basically just giving a recap of like last episode. So it shows everyone trying to lift the bow, King John getting frustrated, and Lakshman having that whole scene.
Yeah, and you know the guy with the one hand that goes and tries to lift it. This guy gets me every single time. It's just so funny watching him. Yeah, yeah. It shows Janaka. It's so sad to see the look on his face. Mm-hmm. You know, he's starting to get so worried. Seeing it a second time, and it wasn't better the second time.
It also shows Vishwamitra telling Ram to go lift the bow, mm-hmm. and then it has this whole scene where Ram stands with the bow and they're playing a song, and it shows everyone in the room as they wait for Ram to lift the bow.
Right.
And it shows Ram taking blessings and bowing to the bow. Then he picks it up and strings it, also breaking it.
Right. So he takes his good time walking up to the bow.
Yeah.
He really stretches this out, you know, and there's a song playing and everything. But
he was just standing there.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't speak Hindi. We understand a little bit. And so we depend on the subtitles. And all it said was Braja Bhasha, which I looked it up, and it's a dialect of Hindi. And it said it is noted for its poetic literature. But I mean, looking at the episode itself, it was not difficult to kind of decipher what it is that was happening. So Shri Ram, he comes up to break the bow, and like I said, he's taking his precious time doing it. He looks at Sita Mata, he looks at everybody else, he looks at all the other kings and all of that. He first of all takes the blessings of his guru, of Vishwamitra first, and then when he's done, he offers his respect to the bow. And this is a Shiva Dhanus bow, of course. So it is the bow of Lord Shiva. In looking at this bow, he also offers respects to Lord Shiva before he tries to lift the bow. Looking at Sita Mata, and this is while the song is playing. Looking at Sita Mata, in her mind, she's praying to Gauri Mata, she's praying to Lord Shiva, she's praying to Lord Ganesh, and she's doing everything that she can. On her part, she's turning and she's praying as hard as she can so that Shri Ram will be able to lift this bow. And it just reminds me of our own self. Sometimes we want something and then we just close our eyes and we pray as hard as we can to try to get that thing that we want. As soon as we get what it is that we're actually looking for, we forget about the prayers and now we're focused on that material thing that we wanted. So not saying that Sita Mata is looking for something material, but I'm just kind of seeing the similarities between that and us.
And as he breaks the bow, there's like a loud thunder heard, I'm guessing all throughout the universe probably, considering it reached all the way like up to the heavenly regions and stuff.
Right.
And it startles everyone. You can even see Lord Shiva, he opens his eyes, he could hear it. And then as well as Parashuram. And so that's the first time they show him in the show, I think.
Right.
And it cuts to Lord Ram. He walks up to King Janak with the bow in two pieces in his hands, and he looks up at him with an expression on his face like, "Excuse me, sir, I kind of broke this." It was really funny. Everyone in the room was happy. There was like tears running down their cheeks and everything, and Sita's mother tells her to go put the garland around Ram's neck.
Yeah, so Sita Mata looks like she's lost, like she doesn't know what to do. So her mother steps in and says, okay, at this point, you take the garland and you're going to put it around his neck. And when you put that around his neck, it means that this is your husband. Right? This is the one that you have chosen. And again, in one of the previous episodes, we were talking about the significance of the Shankha when it is blown, and here you see it again. It's a sign of victory, that this task that was meant to be completed is done, and they blow the Shankha as a sign of victory.
So Sita makes her way down to put the garland around his neck, and she's like, this took like 5 minutes. Like,
yes,
that's something that they do in these episodes. They take time to like play the music, and so like it takes longer for things to happen.
Some of these things, they're really milking it.
Yeah. And so she approaches him and puts the garland around his neck and then bows to him.
Right.
But then suddenly, Parashuram comes out of nowhere.
He just shows up like a crazy person.
He just walks up, he just comes around the corner. And everyone, they become afraid and they're all worried. And you can see like all the kings that were invited to the swayamvar, they try offering respects to him, but for each person that walks up to him, he just shouts, "Get
pushes
lost."
them away. Yes, get out of my way. I'm not here for you. Don't get in my way because I might have to do something about it. And
so Janak makes his way to Parashuram and introduces himself and pays respects, and he introduces Sita as well. And Vishwamitra comes down in a welcoming manner and tells
yeah, but you notice like he comes and he introduces himself and then he introduces Sita Mata. So they both offer their respects, and as soon as Sita Mata is done, he tells her to go. He's trying to protect her in case anything is to happen.
I didn't notice that.
he did this kind of to the side and it's like, go. Right? So he gets her out of the way, gets her to safety, and then he's like, okay, we'll deal with this now.
Vishwamitra tells Ram and Lakshman to come forward and bow to Parashuram.
So when Janaka approaches and he introduces himself and Sita Mata, Parashuram actually blesses both of them. And it's at this point that Janaka orders Sita to be taken away. And then Shatanan comes and Shatanan welcomes him to Mithila. Once Shatanan welcomes him, he blesses Shatanan, then Vishwamitra approaches. And Vishwamitra, for some reason, congratulates him he said congratulations, and I'm not real sure what that meant. Maybe it was just a mix-up in the translation. But it says Vishwamitra congratulates him. And then Vishwamitra orders Shri Ram and Lakshman to prostrate to him to show their respect to Parasuram. And did you notice the look that Parasuram gives to Shri Ram when he walks up? The kind of inquisitive kind of look is like, I'm seeing something here, but I don't know what it is that I'm seeing.
I'm pretty sure he was doing that the entire time.
Yeah, he's looking at Shri Ram and he's thinking, what is it? What is it about this person that I can't put my finger on, but there's something there?
He asks the princes to introduce themselves, and Ram says, I assumed you would know this devotee of yours, so I didn't think I need to introduce myself.
Right, so Shri Ram himself is being kind of coy with him as soon as he opens his mouth to speak with him, right? He's just kind of toying with Parashuram. And Janaka steps up and he's trying to not start anything. He doesn't want any trouble. He knows what Parashuram does, right? He knows the history of Parashuram. So he steps in and he introduces them. And he asks Parashuram, please come and take a seat. He wants to welcome him and he wants to show him the proper respect.
My notes. Okay, so Janak doesn't respond, and Parashuram says, he says something like, why don't you speak? Whose death summoned me here?
Yeah, he calls Janaka a fool for not speaking.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, Janaka is not speaking because he's trying to protect Sri Ram.
But then, when Parashuram said, whose death has summoned me here, it did that thing with Lakshman again, where he just looks at him like, you did not just, like, no. You did not just say that.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, they keep flashing to Lakshman just to show his expression while all of this is happening.
I love Lakshman throughout this entire thing. So Parashuram demands to know who broke the bow of Lord Shiva.
Yeah, he says, I will turn your entire kingdom upside down if I am not told who it is that did this.
Yeah, he said he'd destroy all the villages and everything. But Janaki still remains quiet. Meanwhile, Ram says how only someone devoted to him can dare to break the bow, and asks what Parashuram commands. And he says how he needs to know who broke the bow, or else he'll sentence whoever did it to death. And then Lakshman does the thing again. I keep bringing this up, but it's so funny.
Yeah, Lakshman is like, this guy comes and he keeps threatening us. What's wrong with him?
And Lakshman says all this stuff to Parashuram, and
so Rama continues to maintain that he is the devotee of Parasuram. But Parasuram, he looks at Rama and he says, a devotee serves, but an enemy must be punished. And whoever broke this bow is an enemy and he must be punished. So this is the mentality that Parasuram comes with. He doesn't want to hear any bargaining. He doesn't want to hear any negotiation. He knows the bow is broken, and it doesn't matter who it is that broke it, he's going to punish that person. So he calls out to Janaka, he calls out to Vishwamitra, and he calls out to all the kings that's there. And you look at the kings and them they're in the crowd, and they're all trembling. Right? They are so scared, they're all trembling. And he calls on them to bring the person who broke the bow, or else he will sentence all of them to death, and no one will survive. So either you tell me or all of you die. And at this point is where Lakshmana decides he is going to speak out. And let me just say, I am very impressed that it took Lakshmana this long to start speaking. Because knowing the fire in Lakshman, I would have thought that he would have opened his mouth a long time before this.
Yeah, but he said like a lot during his time speaking. He said a lot.
Oh yeah, he just kept...
he just went all out.
He just kept packing it in. So he goes, you are so mad because of a broken bow? You know how many bows we broke when we were children? So Parasuram is listening to this and he warns him. He says, you hold your tongue. Don't compare Shiva's bow to a child's bow. And it flashes on Janaka, and Janaka is really concerned about this dialogue that's going on here. But he's not saying anything, he's staying quiet.
I cannot imagine what is going through his mind right now. He's like probably like, oh no.
It's like, why did they bring Lakshman? So Lakshmana, he looks at him and he says, so you see bows differently. You offer respect to bows. But we as Kshatriyas, we break bows all the time. You crying for an old broken bow like if you were a child? Rama just touched it and it broke. It's time to stop threatening us. So this is the first time that Shri Ram's name is actually called in the breaking of the bow. Before this, nobody clearly said that it was Shri Ram that broke the bow. But Parasuram, he is focused on Lakshman at this point, and he is getting frustrated with his insolence. And he says, it looks as though you want to deprive your mother of her child. I have spared you because I consider you a child. And Lakshmana, the fire in him, he can't stay quiet for this. He says, and I've considered you a Brahmin, and we don't kill Brahmins, we protect them. Parashuram looks at Lakshman, he says, I am the destroyer of the Kshatriya clan. I have killed all the Kshatriyas 21 times. And he continues to talk to Lakshman in this way, and he's trying to intimidate him. So just like this, they keep going back and forth each other. Lakshman is trying to intimidate him, he's trying to intimidate Lakshmana. And then Parashuram turns to Vishwamitra and he tells him, keep Lakshman out of my sight for his own safety. And I thought that this was so funny because it reminded me of that scene in Dashrath's court, where Vishwamitra is speaking with Dashrath, and Dashrath is not answering. So Vishwamitra just totally ignores Dashrath at this point and turns to Vashishta and says, talk to this guy for me and let him know. So it's the same thing here that's happening. He realizes he can't get through with Lakshmana, so he turns to Vishwamitra and tells Vishwamitra, keep him out of my eyesight, please. But Lakshmana is not having any part of that. His attitude is, you are speaking with me, speak with me. I don't care what you're telling Vishwamitra about me. I am going to respond. And he persists. Parasuram tells Vishwamitra to tell Lakshman of his greatness. He tells Vishwamitra, you tell him all the things that I have done, all the Kshatriyas that I have killed. Lakshmana says, you're doing such a good job of bragging. Why are you involving Vishwamitra in this? Lakshmana he's not backing down at all. And it is a beautiful sight to watch. And the reason I'm saying this, right? And the reason I'm seeing such comedy in this is because here we have Shri Ram, who is Bhagavan. We have Parasuram, who is himself an incarnation of Bhagavan. And we have Lakshmana, who is himself also a partial incarnation of Bhagavan. So we have three incarnations of Bhagavan, and they're all amongst themselves having this argument. And it is so joyous for me to sit there and watch them have this conversation. It was really a beautiful thing. At this point, Lakshmana, he is tired of all of the bickering, and he talks about how Parasuram has threatened the life of Shri Ram, and he draws his arrow to attack Parasuram. And then Rama stops him. So cooler heads have started to prevail. Vishwamitra asks to excuse Lakshman's behavior. Janaka steps in now, and he says that he's just a child acting out, and you should not be angry when a child acts out. Rama, the same way that Janaka moves Sita Mata aside, Shri Ram does the same thing for Lakshman, and he moves Lakshman aside, and he directly addresses Parasuram.
He did the thing where he's like, Lakshman?
Yes. Yes, every so often he does have to do that.
The way he says it, it's so funny.
Now, when Shri Ram addresses Parasuram, in this case, he calls him Bhagavan. And he tells him, don't be concerned with Lakshman. He hasn't harmed you. In any case, your quarrel is with me. I was the one that broke the bow, so you punish me. So now Shri Ram, with his calm tone, is speaking with Parasuram, but Parasuram, he has come here in anger and he doesn't want to hear anything. And the more Shri Ram tries to calm him, the more angry he gets. He looks at Shri Ram and he's mad. And he accuses him of using the name Ram to make himself seem greater than he is. He said, you take my name, you take the name of Ram because you want everybody to think you're as great as me. But Parasuram tells him, you are unarmed and I will not kill an unarmed man.
Yeah, he said he would give him a chance to die a heroic death. And Ram responds how it's Kshatriya code not to hit or attack Brahmins. And he has not yet recognized who he is.
Yeah, he says, so Rama says, I will accept a challenge by anyone who challenges me, but I am duty bound. I, a member of the Raghu race, I am duty bound to protect cows and Brahmins, etc., yagnas and all of this. And then he looks at Parasuram and he tells him, I have a short name. My name is Rama. But your name is Parashurama. I can see the divinity in you, but you have not yet recognized your Rama. So he's hinting to Parasuram of who he is. And Parasuram, at this point, you can see Parasuram is looking at him inquisitively because he wants to know what it is that Rama is talking about. And then he continues, even if I lose to you, I will still win. And what he means is that Parasuram, you are Bhagavan and I am Bhagavan. So either way, I will still win because Bhagavan will win.
He says something in Braj Bhasha, as you were talking about earlier, and a look of realization comes across Parshuram's face. Like he's like, oh.
Yes. So he looks at him kind of inquisitively, and then you see on the screen the form of Rama changes from Rama to Vishnu. And this is where he realizes, okay, this is what he means. This is my Lord. This is Shri Rama. And at this point, he gives Rama the bow of Vishnu. And he tells him that if you can shoot an arrow from this bow, then I will have no doubt as to who you are. Have I ever told you the story of Parasuram?
No, but I really want to know. I want to know the backstory behind him.
So according to Bhagavatam recognizes Parasuram as the sixth avatar of Lord Vishnu. During his childhood, he wanted to please Lord Vishnu, so he did many years of tapasya at a place called Chakratirtha. So although he's an avatar of Vishnu, this is his story. You know, each one of them has to have a story of how they are raised and you know their pastimes and all that. So this is the story of his pastime. He goes to Chakratirtha. He performs these many years of tapasya, of penance. And in his devotion, Lord Vishnu appeared to him. And Vishnu told him that now is the time to end your tapasya. I have a job for you. Vishnu empowers him with just a fraction of his power and instructed him to slay all the Kshatriyas 21 times. Now, the reason that Lord Vishnu is doing this is because at the time, the Kshatriya race, the protectors, these people that are supposed to be protectors of the rest of society, had become corrupt. And Lord Vishnu says the only way to destroy this is to wipe them out. So he tells him that 21 times, every time the Kshatriya race comes back, for 21 generations, you keep wiping them out. So he gives him this power. This is why it is said that Lord Parasuram is a partial incarnation, because he was given part of the power of Lord Vishnu. And because he's only a partial incarnation, he has the human side of him is somewhat filled with anger, it's filled with pride, and this is what it is that stops him from being able to recognize Shri Ram when he sees him. Now, after you've destroyed the Kshatriya race, I want you to take the earth and I want you to hand it over Sage Kashyapa. Lord Vishnu then blesses him with peace and tranquility. The Lord then told him of his next coming. He says, I will be born in the house of Dashrath as Rama in Treta Yuga. At that time, you will see me in my supreme power, my infinite cosmic energy. Now, here's a little clue of something we will find out later on. He says this, but then he says Sita. So he says, you will see me in my supreme power, my infinite cosmic energy, and that infinite cosmic energy is Sita, is what he's referring to. At that moment, I shall reclaim those powers that I have given to you. When he sees him, that bow that he shoots is the way that Lord Vishnu reclaims that energy that he had given to Parasuram. After that time, you shall resume your austerities and you shall live peacefully upon the earth. So, what we saw in the episode, after Parashuram gives Shri Ram the bow, and after Shri Ram fires that bow, Parasuram leaves, and now he is going to resume his austerities, and from this point on, he will live peacefully. So Parasuram has been somewhat defanged. All this fear that people had for Parasuram, at this point now it's gone because he no longer lives that life. So let me ask you a question. Parasuram, knowing all of this, he has the prophecy. He knows how it's going to play out. Why is he addressing Shri Ram so hastily when he sees him?
I mean, doesn't he have to do that in order for the story to
You might say that. You might say that's a part of the story. But he's testing him. He wants to see if this is really that Rama that has been foretold. So this is why he's pushing him. He's pushing him, and he's trying to see if that aspect of Bhagavan is going to come out so he can be sure that this is who he will be handing over to. So according to Maharishi Vedavyas in the Adhyatma Ramayan, which is where I got that story from Parashurama actually, is from the Adhyatma Ramayan. After Shri Ram breaks the bow, Janaka asks Vishwamitra, okay, you tell me how we should proceed from this point forward. And Vishwamitra tells him, post haste, invite Dashrath, have him bring his sons, have him bring his wives, have him bring his guru, right? Have them come and we can prepare to have the wedding ceremony. So Dashrath, finding this out, he gets everybody ready. He comes in all this pomp and all this circumstance. He comes and he meets Janaka. Janaka welcomes him. He meets his Shri Ram. And while he's embracing Shri Ram, Parasuram, who had heard of the breaking of the bow, this is the point that Parasuram enters. When Dashrath sees Parasuram, he becomes scared. He becomes so frightened. He starts to beg for his life, and he starts to beg for the life of his sons. Maharishi also goes on to tell of the look that Parasuram had, the way he looked when when Shri Ram saw him. He says that he was as splendorous as 1,000,000 suns, as dazzling and brilliant as a source of electricity. He was most famous, victorious, and valorous. He was a source of radiance and splendor. He had a hue that resembled blue clouds and a huge colossus body. There was a crown of matted hair, and he held a bow and an axe in his hands. He resembled death himself. Parasuram was a vanquisher of pride, haughtiness, and arrogance in the Kshatriya clan. And he stood there as an alternate Yama, staring angrily at Dashrath. So when you hear this explanation of the way he looked, you could understand why Raja Dashrath was so afraid of him. So I think that when we see in the episode, these kings are all begging, it's a kind of a representation of Dashrath and his demeanor when he saw Parasuram. But Parasuram, he ignores Dashrath. Dashrath is scared and Parasuram doesn't care. He ignores Dashrath and he turns his attention to Shri Ram, because as soon as the bow is broken, remember, he knows of the coming of Shri Ram. He turns his attention to Shri Ram because this is the person that he needs to question. This is the person that he needs to verify of who it is. So the story, according to Sri Ramcharitmanas, differs a little bit from the way it's told in the Veda Vyasa's Adhyatma Ramayana. When he addresses Shri Ram, so they kind of speak a little bit about this in the episode, but he actually tells Shri Ram, "O most lowly and wicked of Kshatriyas." This is Parashuram is speaking to Shri Ram, and he's telling him, "O most lowly and wicked of Kshatriyas, you have become as famous as me, and you have been allowed to move about unhindered. So if you are a true Kshatriya, have a one-on-one battle with me, but first prove yourself. You have broken a worn-out, rusted, and decrepit old bow. But if you dare to string this bow of Vishnu," and he hands him the bow that we saw in the episode, "if you dare to string this bow of Vishnu, then I will fight a duel with you. But if you fail, I will kill you, because it is my duty to kill all the Kshatriya on this earth." So this is a telling according to Veda Vyasa's Adhyatma Ramayana. So up until this point, when you compare the Veda Vyasa Ramayana to this episode, or 8Sita's Ramayana, that is where we're at.
So Ram picks up the bow and asks, which direction should I shoot this bow? Or shoot this arrow?
Right, so what he means by that is that now I am a Kshatriya, you have given me an order to draw this bow. Now, I can't just release this arrow and have nothing happen with it. Now that I've drawn the string, I have to release the arrow. So you tell me where you want me to shoot. Now, you're a Brahmin, so I can't shoot you. I can't kill you because you're a Brahmin and I have vowed to protect the Brahmin race. So do you want me to shoot and destroy your ability to move faster than the speed of thought? Or, and the reason that he has this ability to travel faster than the speed of thought is a blessing that he got for all the years of tapasya that he performed. Or do you want me to shoot this arrow and to destroy all the good deeds that have earned you the reputation and the name that you have?
And so Parashuram tells him to send the arrow into the north, which is, I think, for what the second thing that you said, right?
Yeah, it's like a representation of that.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. So personally, I'm not real clear on how shooting it to the north destroys that. But this is what he has said.
Yeah. And so Ram does just that. And Parashuram blesses Ram and leaves.
I love that. He blesses the wedding. He blesses Shri Ram. He blesses Sita. And everyone is relieved.
Yeah,
You can see everybody just breathes a sigh of relief. And Parashuram, he leaves. And this is the last that anybody sees of Parashuram.
Like ever?
Well, in the episode. I don't know if there may be other scriptures that he pops up in. But as far as I know, in Ramayana, this is the last that we see of him.
So Ram then goes and bows to King Janak's feet. And I love this part so much. He stands up and King Janak kisses him on the forehead, and that was really sweet.
That was very beautiful. And so according to, again, the Adhyatma Ramayana, this is something that happens when Dasharath comes and he sees Sri Ram. He kisses him on the forehead, and he smells his hair. Yeah, it actually mentions that this is something that Dashrath does. When he sees Sri Ram, he kisses him on the forehead and he smells his hair. So this is kind of like a representation of that. And I don't know if when Raja Dashrath comes to Mithila in the TV series, if we're going to get to see that. But it just reminds me of that from the Adhyatma Ramayana.
It's cool how in the show they reference a lot of that stuff, like the tiny little things.
Yeah,
if you know about it, then you'd realize, oh.
And had I not been doing the research on it, I would not have known it myself. I would have just glossed by a lot of the stuff that we're seeing on the screen, and it's kind of confusing to me with the way that these episodes are. That there are a lot of little things that they find the time to put in. And again, like if you don't know the Ramayana or you haven't been doing your research and so on, you just go right past you. But then when you see it, it's like, wow, I can't believe you guys actually thought of it to put that in there. But then there's also a lot of really big things that they just leave out. So I don't understand really what the thinking is and a lot of the stuff. But still, I appreciate everything that they put in. And especially when I have the ability to recognize it, it feels really good. I love it. I'm
sure a lot of those big things, they probably didn't have the resources to
Yeah, that's true. You don't know what kind of budget that they had. And also it's a TV series and they're working with time. They only have half an hour to play with. So they're trying to do the best that they can. So I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying that this is my observation on it. So we see a new narrator pops up. And this gentleman, his name is Ashoka Kumar. And he comes on to talk a little bit about the incarnation known as Parasuram. And he says that Valmiki says that he was an avatar of Lord Vishnu. He avenged the death of his father by wiping out the Kshatriya race 21 times, after which time he handed over the earth to Kashyap Muni. No, he doesn't say it, but the reason that he does do this, that he does wipe out the Kshatriya race, is because he was instructed by Lord Vishnu to do this. But after he handed over the earth to Kashyap Muni, Kashyap actually cursed him that he would not be able to live in his kingdom, in Kashyap's kingdom, anymore because of his deeds. Now, Kashyap's kingdom at this point, because he has given the earth to Kashyap, Kashyap's kingdom becomes the earth. So now he's not allowed to live on the earth. However, through his penance, he had the ability to travel at the speed of thought. Now, being a partial avatar, he was full of pride. This is the human side of him, right? Had made him full of pride. And he talks about how pride blinds a man with power, and he's unable to recognize the greatness of other people. And this is why when Parasuram saw Sri Ram, he could not recognize him, because it was his own pride that stopped him or obstructed him from being able to recognize his Lord. So that brings us to the end of today's episode. Tell me what stood out to you in this one.
The use of Braj Bhasha, is that how you say it?
Braj Bhasha?
Yeah. I didn't know what it meant, but they used it a lot.
Yeah.
And that stood out.
Yeah, just that language. And for some reason, I think it had to do with the whoever was transcribing it. Maybe they were a little bit lazy. I don't know. And they just put Braj Bhasha there. But yeah, I mean, we're listening to Braj Bhasha the whole time. It's
True.
just, it's not being labeled as Braj Bhasha. They're actually telling us what the actual meaning is. But it's just for some reason, this episode, some of the scenes, they just wrote Braj Bhasha, and we had to try to kind of figure it out ourselves. For me, I liked what stood out to me was looking at Shri Ram and Lakshman and Parasuram interact with each other. You know, here's Bhagavan as Rama, and here's Bhagavan as Lakshman, and here's Bhagavan as Parashuram. Each of them being Bhagavan, and all of them, they're acting this drama out for our enjoyment. You know, we look at them, and Rama is Ram, and Parasuram is Ram, and Lakshmana, we just had Janamashtami, Lakshmana is Balaram. So they're all named Rama.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, they're all named Rama, and it's a beautiful scene looking at the Lord acting out this Leela, and we get to just sit back and watch, and I was just smiling for the whole thing. I enjoyed it so much.
That's kind of cool. I never noticed that. Like, they all have Ram in their name.
Yeah, they're all Rama. So is there anything in particular that you liked about the episode?
Parshuram's devotion to Lord Shiva, like, you could tell he was really devoted to Lord Shiva in order to come down and be like, who broke my Lord's bow? Like, he had to be really devoted to Lord Shiva.
Mm-hmm. And again, so there's a beautiful relationship between Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. Mm-hmm. That whenever Lord Vishnu takes avatar, you see Lord Shiva does everything that he can to try to spend time with Lord Vishnu. He wants to see Lord Vishnu. He wants to be as close as he possibly can to Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu reciprocates. Lord Vishnu in the avatar of Shri Ram, you see Shri Ram performing Rameshwar Puja, right? He keeps Lord Shiva close in his heart. Lord Shiva is his deity, is his own chosen deity, is the way he phrases it. He loves Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva loves him. And in every avatar they take, it's the exact same thing. Parashuram is a partial avatar. He also loves Lord Shiva. Shri Krishna comes, Shri Krishna also loves Lord Shiva. So it's even told that don't see any difference between Lord Shiva and Lord Rama. You can't worship Lord Rama and not worship Lord Shiva. Lord Rama doesn't want to hear anything about you if you think you could just worship Lord Rama and not worship Lord Shiva. So there's a love between the two of them. And devotees that understand them can see that love and really don't see a difference between the two.
It's like in either the first or second episode that we watched, Lord Shiva, when they were doing Lord Shiva Puja, and Lord Shiva came down and started dancing. He's taking as much time as possible to come down and be with Ram.
One of my most favorite scenes in this whole series so far is watching Shri Ram singing and Lord Shiva dancing. It was really something. I love that you said that. For me, the thing I liked is the narration, and when he talks about Parasuram, and he kind of humanizes Parasuram, that he shows us the flaws in this avatar of Parasuram. And it's not so much that Parasuram has flaws, it is that the Lord is showing us, he's teaching us in these lessons that if you live like this and if you have these things in your mind, these are the things that's going to make you blind. These are the things you're not going to be able to see. And these are the things that's going to make you weak. And listening to that, the narration, it kind of brings all of that together. Is there anything in particular that you disliked about it?
Okay, so this didn't have much to do with the episode itself, but I didn't like not having much backstory in Parashuram. He looks like such an interesting character, and I wish I knew more about him before I watched the episode.
Yeah, and he is a little bit of a secretive character by nature. I mean, I grew up going to Mandir and all of that, and they never really spoke a whole lot about Parasuram. And the little bit that I did hear, it wasn't very attractive, because he's there and he's just killing all these Kshatriyas, right?
Yeah.
And they don't really want to talk a whole lot about that. So I myself didn't really know a whole lot about Parasuram, and this episode gave me a chance to study up on him a little bit. But again, this is an avatar of the Lord, and he came here with a dharma to perform, and he came and he performed that dharma to perfection. And then when the time came for the end of that dharma, he handed over to Shri Ram, and he left. And that was that.
I'm just happy I finally got to see Ram break the bow. And last week I was like, I really wanted to see that.
Yes, and it did live up to the hype. I enjoyed seeing it as well. So as we come to the end of today's episode, if I could just have 1 minute of your time more. We are fully aware that there are people that listen to our podcast and they don't watch the show. We'd like it if you watch the show, but at the same time, we take the responsibility of narrating the Ramayana very seriously. We try to include everything and give different perspectives as much as we can, but we still miss things. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have differing understandings or if you want to add anything. If you find that we've forgotten something, don't hesitate to let us know. We love discussing this stuff, and we would consider it a privilege to be a part of that conversation. You can always reach out to us at thehindupod@gmail.com, or you can message us on our Facebook page. Just search for The Hindu Pod on Facebook. This has been a presentation of The Hindu Pod. Please remember to like, share, follow, and rate this episode, since this helps to bump us up in the feeds, which helps others to find the podcast. Please send comments and suggestions to thehindupod@gmail.com. You can text or call us at 281-804-9616. You can search Facebook for The Hindu Pod. If you live in the Houston area, you can find us on most Sundays at the Sanatan Dharam Mandir for Sunday morning satsang. We are located at 12918 Player Street, Houston, Texas 77045, and are open on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock. We are sponsored by HinduHandcrafts.com. Please visit HinduHandcrafts.com for Hindu religious-based items such as framed pictures, wall plaques, tapestries, t-shirts, clocks, and so on. They are perfect for puja use, home decor, or gifts. And until next time, Jai Shri Ram.